The Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa Al-Kadhimi is in Washington and on Thursday will meet President Donald Trump. The last time that US President welcomed an Iraqi Prime Minister was 3 years ago. Now we go to Washington to talk with American Iraqi political activist Intifada Qambar about the visit of Mr. Al-Kadhimi to the White House. What are the main issues that the Iraqi Prime Minister will discuss with US President?
Well, it is very troubling that the Iraqi government is fragmented. Good part of this, or the majority part of this government, are stooges to the hegemony of the mullahs of Tehran. And the other part, which are more reasonable and thinking about the interests of the Iraq as a country, are a minority. Therefore, Mr. Al-Kadhimi, under tremendous pressure by Shia militias loyal to the regime in Tehran, who are their priority is to serve the purpose of Khamenei and IRGC and the Quds Force rather than serving the purpose of Iraq. Well, we know that Iraq is under tremendous economic difficulty, and it's almost bankrupt country with the drop of the oil, and we don't see any light at the end of the tunnel in the near future. And we know that Mustafa Al-Kadhimi will ask for support, financial support from the United States of America. However, it is important to indicate that some of the dollars that or part of the dollar that the US is supporting Iraq with is going to the Shia militias directly or indirectly, because it's going to be part of the Iraqi budget, and there is a $2 billion line item in the Iraqi budget 2019 for salaries for these militias under the so-called PMF al-Hashd, and also not to mention weapons. So I think it's an opportunity for the United States to put Mr. Al-Kadhimi be aware of this situation, of this conflict of interest, and to be honest and clear with Mr. Al-Kadhimi that the United States of America is not willing and is not going to fund the Iraqi government, despite the deep strategic relationship between the two peoples of Iraq and the United States. But we're not going to allow the U.S. money, U.S. taxpayers' money, to go to those militias as if the U.S. is subsidizing these militias, and this is not acceptable. The second thing, I am calling, and I'm talking to the people close to the administration here, to put a ban on buying weapons by those militias, and not only from outside Iraq, from inside Iraq. The Iraqi government is transferring weapons from the Ministry of Defense and Interior, and sometimes they are using even American weapons, like M1 Abrams tanks used by those militias, and Hummers and other equipment American-made. So there should be a weapons ban on these militias internationally and internally to stop them from harassing Iraq.
The visit to Washington will be the second foreign trip of Mr. Al-Kadhimi. The first one was to Tehran. Is the Iraqi Prime Minister carrying a message from Iran?
Well, that's what we don't want to happen. I don't think the Iraqi Prime Minister should be a messenger or courier of messages to Tehran. Tehran is trying to do that. Mr. Al-Kadhimi said yesterday he's not going to be a courier. We hope that's going to happen. But I don't think Iraq in a position to carry, it's humiliating to the Iraqi people, to the Iraqi integrity and sovereignty for the Prime Minister to carry around messages from Iran to the United States. And I think Iraq could play a role in becoming a good middleman between Iraq, the United States and Iran in the future, when Iraq is strong and independent and sovereign. At this point, Iraq is not qualified to do this task. And I think carrying messages from Tehran to Washington through a prime minister is not acceptable. If I was the Prime Minister Mustafa Al-Kadhimi, I would not receive Ghani, who came a couple days ago to see him before this visit, because the clear message by the Iranian regime that we are sending a message with Kadhimi, which is going to undermine him and undermine his credibility.
Recently, some militias have carried out rocket attacks against a U.S. convoy as well as American embassy in Baghdad and Baghdad International Airport. Who are these militia? Is Iran, Islamic Republic, supporting them?
Always Iran, and always these militias change their colors and names and create new names. They all fall under the banner of Al-Quds Force. They all fall under the banner of the head of the Quds Force, which is Ghani. And the fact that Mr. Ghani is sitting with Kadhimi while in the meeting they bombard American targets is a very clear message to embarrass and to undermine Mr. Al-Kadhimi. That's why I don't think meeting Mr. Al-Kadhimi to Mr. Ghani was the right thing to do. He should have blocked this meeting. He should have refused to see him and send a strong message that we are independent. We are going to go and defend Iraq, not to carry messages, and not allow this complete farce of sitting in the meeting while his own operators and terrorist minions blowing or trying to blow U.S. forces and U.S. targets while sitting with the Prime Minister. This is a humiliation to Iraq, and this is humiliation to the international community, but we are used to the Iranian regime to do that.
Thank you to be with us.
Welcome.